This is your host, Chris, the Metal Teddy Bear Experience. And guess what, guys? I have a very special guest on the line. I have Keith, the drummer of Druids. What's up, man? How you doing tonight?
Hey, not too shabby, man. Thanks for having me on.
Dude, no problem. The pleasure is all mine. Pumped to be having you on. I just played your track before. It was killing it. It was a pretty long track, but that's kind of what you guys are known for, and that's why I kind of dig your stuff. It kind of takes you on like a whole little trance and all that. So for anyone who missed it before, it was Mirrors of Trigon. Did I get that right?
Yep, you said it correctly, yep.
Oh, my God, because on my show, I'm known for, butchering names of artists, bands, and like there's a band called Deaf Heaven. I don't know if you heard of them, but I always call them Deaf Haven.
I do. Yeah, I'm familiar with them. Yeah.
So that's my theme on my show. But so man, how's your night been going so far?
Oh, so far so good. Just kind of chilling out, reading some music news and things like that. So not really doing anything too wild. Taking it easy tonight. So chilling out.
Yeah, I was reading some music news before too, and I saw Spencer Sotelo of Periphery. He actually guested on a new track for Phase 1. I don't know if you're into them or not.
Okay.
But
I'm not familiar. I know Periphery, but I don't know Phase 1 or anything.
Speaking of Periphery, what do you think about their new album? I just got to ask.
I haven't heard the new album. So
what?
Blasphemy. I know.
Sorry, man.
I'm dropping the ball on that one.
I'm gonna have to drop this call now.
That's a good recommendation, so I appreciate it.
No, I'm just messing with you. But all right, let's focus on you and your band Druids.
Sure.
You actually have the album, your brand new album, coming out this Friday, which is pretty dope. The album is called Monument. You want to talk a little bit about it? Give us a little background and the process of how it came to be.
Yeah, be happy to. Fire away. It's been a long time kind of coming, and it's finally coming to fruition, which is a little bit why maybe I'm just taking it easy reading music news tonight, because it's been pretty full steam ahead for the last couple months in preparation for it. So, but yeah, fire away, man. Any question is welcome. So
how long did it take, because you said it was full steam ahead, so how long did it take for you guys to really get into the process of writing and recording? Because I know typically bands in your style, like stoner metal and, with all those concepts and stuff, it usually takes them a long time to get everything, set and in order.
Yeah, for us it's a little different. These songs were actually, I want to say all of them I think were written almost 2 years ago now. And we recorded the record in February of last year, or started to, and it was just kind of like a throughout the year process. We were doing a lot of traveling and touring and stuff like that. So it was kind of hard to get it all fully knocked out in terms of finishing up the production side of things like that. But as far as writing goes, I believe we released Spirit Compass, and then maybe about a month later we wrote Shivast, which is the last song on the record, and New Breath in the same day. We had previously written The Whip, and then the Mirrors actually was kind of in bits and pieces by the time Spirit Compass came out. So and Iron Healer's brand spanking new. So all that stuff was kind of floating around. Just the way that it works with our producer and engineer and stuff like that, it just kind of takes a little bit of time to kind of flesh all that stuff out. But usually once the three of us get in a room and start writing riffs and stuff like that, it really doesn't take too terribly long to kind of put the songs as a structure as far as bones go pretty quickly. So we've been kind of sitting on it a little bit, worked out a deal with the company out of Kansas City. And so they're putting it out, and we finally kind of pulled the trigger on actually getting things moving, maybe 2 or 3 months ago, as far as getting pressings and all that stuff ready to go.
Would you say you guys are more of a jam band kind of when you guys get in the room?
Not to be honest, you might think that, just kind of the nature of our songs and stuff like that. But truthfully, we kind of come pretty prepared. Whether it be touring or writing songs, we're typically pretty on the ball as far as what we're looking to get out of stuff. We do jam on parts, of course, but it always starts with a basic idea and a loose structure. Drew, the bass player, and I are kind of the editors, more or less, or the copy and pasters of the band. So we'll kind of form the structure together. And Luke's kind of our guitar player is the idea man. So he'll come in with a bunch of riffs, and then we just kind of sit down and work them out together. But it does, I guess, come through jam-wise, but it's not, I wouldn't say we're a jam band, I guess, a jammy kind of band in that way, I guess.
Would you like?
Yeah, so, yeah.
When you usually track your drums, are you usually the first one in the studio tracking and getting ready?
I am, which is both nerve-wracking and a relief because after 4 or 5 days of recording drums, you're like, cool, I don't have to do anything else for the rest of the time, other than sit here and go, this sounds weird or that sounds good. But yeah, typically I am the first one. But what's cool is the full band will track along with me. And sometimes I think some of the takes on Monument actually were just scratch guitar. So I mean, we do play the songs like pretty intensely to make sure that they sound as good as possible. So no matter what take you're getting, you're hopefully getting the best version of that take. So it's kind of interesting, but yeah, that's usually how I do it for sure.
Well, I just always, because I noticed bands, usually the drummers are the first ones in. And like you said, it kind of nerve-wracking. Like, I wouldn't want to be first. I wouldn't want to be the guy who's, like, laying down, like, the whole order of things, you know?
Right.
But
yeah, it's a very physical and intense and precise job to have. So I have to be really on my best game.
Because most of the time you're following, like you said, like, scratch guitar and, like, demos and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so that's... I know sometimes demos are not like the same as like the studio stuff, so it could change down the line.
Yeah.
Do you ever have to re-record your drums?
Fortunately, by the time we get into the studio, it's like what
Down
you've
pat.
done is what you've done, and that's kind of it. So, with edits as we go into the recording process, like I don't know how much people know about like editing, but like the kind of nice thing about working with the producer is that we'll record the song as we have it. And then throughout time, which is kind of nice and why it's taken so long, is we've been just kind of like sending versions back. Like maybe we should shorten this a little bit. And, he's got handy tools to kind of like, okay, we really probably don't need this part to go 8 times. How about 6 times or 4 times? So he can make that, sound seamless so we don't have to re-record everything. But it is a nice way of kind of working quickly to get kind of a desired effect, I guess, at the end of the day.
Yeah, producers really do help. I know sometimes some people are like, what do producers really do? But if you're like really into like your music and the scene, you could tell that producers do a lot, and not having a producer can sometimes be bad. For example, in my opinion, people might get upset at this, but Metallica, I feel like they really need a producer now because their songs can go on and on. Like Hardwired and Death Magnetic, I can just feel like, you need a producer in there to tell you, like, maybe you don't have to play that riff again. Like Lars, you don't have to play that beat again. But
maybe the song doesn't need to be 8 minutes long, and it's basically the same repetitive thing. How about we just do it like 4 minutes? I think they do suffer from that. I think I don't know, are they still working with Bob Rock?
He hasn't been on since Saint Anger, I believe.
Saint Anger, okay.
Yeah, that's what. I heard that was the last one. He played bass on there as well, because that actually wasn't
right.
Rob. But so speaking about your album, you guys actually don't really have that many long tracks. You have the one, Mirrors of Trigon. That one's like almost 9 minutes, and then the other one's around like 5-6 minutes, I think. So you have 5 tracks on there. That's not bad.
No, it really isn't. That Mirrors is just such a beast. I think the shortest song might be The Whip. I think it's around 4 minutes or maybe just over. This one is a little bit more kind of lean and mean, I guess, but it does pack quite a bit of different styles and grooves kind of within. I think like a couple albums back, we definitely had some pretty lengthy songs. We had an 8-minute song and like a 7-minute song. So I mean, yeah, we're not opposed to doing any of that stuff. It's just like we kind of wanted to pack more of a punch and just like kind of get to the point a little bit, like show what we can do in a way that we enjoy playing and listening to. So that's kind of, I feel like how we do it is we make music that we would want to listen to if somebody else made it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I totally get that.
Like, I don't need a ton of 9-minute long songs, but one's good, So,
we have Between the Buried Me for that, and Opeth, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I can listen to Colors if I want to get that same desired effect. So,
actually, just looking back at your previous albums, Cycles of Mobium. Mobium. See, there I go again.
Now, it's a weird one. We made that up, so just like Trigon, so it's fair.
You have a couple of long songs there, but on your other albums, you kind of tone it down, and I think that's cool. I like when bands go, short and sweet or right to the point. Like I think 5 to 6 minutes is like a good length for a song.
Yeah, I think so. You can totally feel it if it goes too long. I mean, like Metallica, like you said, the last two records, especially like Hardwired, probably didn't need to be a double record, by the way. But
Ooh, yeah.
there's
Yep.
some good riffs, but it's just like after a while, it's kind of like, okay, we don't really need to hear this like a fourth time, in the song, or whatever. Like, yeah. So we do try to keep it pretty short and sweet. Like Luke. I mean, we all kind of played in various like hardcore and punk bands. Kind of growing up and things like that. So I think that kind of lingers as far as, the influence of just kind of wanting to be like the immediacy of getting that vibe across. I think that's kind of lingered for all of us to kind of feed into this band as well. We've all played in various styles of music and stuff like that. So, I think that shows hopefully.
So with this album, it's 5 tracks, like I said, and you guys consider this like a full length, right? Like a studio album.
Yeah, because I think it clocks in at just under 30 minutes. Between the last two quote unquote records, we're about just under an hour's worth of runtime. So, yeah, I think I would consider Monument more of a full length than I would Spirit Compass, I'd say.
Okay, because there's always that argument between EPs and albums and stuff like that, and I always find it
Yeah.
interesting, like what makes an EP and what makes an album. And some people would say like the clocking time, like how long the album is, the
hmm
duration, the amount of tracks, and like also if it's like studio made and all that stuff. But I was just asking
Right.
you, why choose to do a studio rather than an EP, or is it all the same to you?
It's kind of just it all kind of blends together to me. I mean, as long as it sounds good and it feels good, like that. That's kind of more what we're all about. I mean, bands that do like pretty long records and stuff like that. Like, Megadeth's Dystopia was super long, but really good. But like, probably, loses my interest about halfway through. And I guess kind of like in a live setting as well, we kind of have that mentality of, keep it short and sweet, leave them wanting more if they're into it. Like don't overdo it because then you're going to burn people out. So I think that's really kind of maybe where we were coming from in the last two releases. I know that we're talking about doing a kind of more expanded record next time around next year. We'll start working on that after probably in the fall, I would assume. After we've gotten a lot of touring in this summer, but I mean, I think it's just whatever fits the vibe of what you're doing and the songs and stuff like that. The collection of songs you've amassed. We don't really like have that in mind when we start writing or anything like that. Typically, Mobium was different because that was meant to be conceptual, but everything else is just kind of like, let's throw these together and see what feels good.
Well, nowadays with all the streaming apps like Spotify,
hmm
Pandora, Apple Music, you name it, there's always something. Like even YouTube has their own streaming service now, YouTube Red. So, uh, a lot of bands, like I know Code Orange was speaking about this, and there's another band I can't remember. They were thinking about going like the more pop route and the hip hop route, where they release singles all the time instead of like full
Yeah.
length albums. And they were
hmm
like, oh, that's like a better way to actually for that track to get its recognition, to get like the full attention it deserves. Whereas like
hmm
people like Des from Devil Driver, he was talking to me about how that's a waste of time. You got to have music ready. You got to have a full length. Like, EPs, people will listen to it and they're done with it. When you put out a full length album, people have the time to listen to it. There's 11 tracks on there, let's say. They go back to
Sure.
it. It's a full thing, and they don't forget about EP. You forget about the single and you move on to the next. So, that's my question to you. Where do you think music's going right now in industry? Single based or still albums?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, first off, I mean, I will say everybody in the band and myself definitely we listen to every type of music. So hip hop, electronic, metal, samba, whatever you name it. So I feel like we all have kind of a good idea of like what makes most sense. I feel like it just kind of goes by genre, to be honest with you. I mean, I feel like hip hop, unless if you're like a Kendrick Lamar putting out like really solid records front to back, you're probably just putting out singles because no one probably will take the time to listen to the full record. Whereas I think people like metalheads and stuff, we like to listen to a full experience. I don't know that I necessarily agree with the single route maybe for this style of music. I'm not saying that it is wrong, but I don't, for myself personally, I don't see that like being much of a benefit, unless it's on a comp or something like that. I get that, but I don't know. I think that if you're releasing a single, that's kind of going to be your spokesperson for, the representation of the rest of what the record might sound like. So for me, I don't know. I don't really see singles being a benefit. I think that if you're sticking with singles, to me, it says that maybe you're not a consistent songwriter. I don't know that obviously I'm not calling out anybody on that. I'm just using a very general example, but I just feel like if you don't have anything to kind of back that single up, that feels kind of weak sauce to me a little bit like that. So I feel like, yeah, I don't know. You need the other songs around it to kind of give that cushion for a single. I mean, look, Spice Girls even had full-length albums, so what does that tell you?
Yeah, right.
So
that was a great, nice little comparison right there.
What's that, sorry?
I said that was the best comparison. That was a nice comparison. Yeah, right there.
Right. That's what the listeners want. That's the content they're looking for. So.
Well, going back to Des when he was talking about it, he says he wakes up in the early morning and he can write a song just like that. He's always ready. He always has material. He's always ready to write something. But then, if you go on the internet and see all the comments, they're like quality over quantity, Des. So it's a fun argument, and it's fun to get different perspectives from different bands.
Oh, totally. I mean, and no answer is the right answer either. That's just my personal perspective. And, you're always everyone is going to rag on you whether or not they agree with you. I mean, that's great that he can write songs like that. So, I mean, good on him, man. Like, I can't do that. Our guitar player does all the time. He writes riffs constantly. He writes them and then saves them on his phone. He's got hundreds. It just comes naturally to him, to do that kind of thing. So I think if it comes natural, that's great. And if not, that's okay too. You just have to work a little harder at it.
And was it hard for you guys to pick a single off this record? Because I know for some people, like Devin Townsend, he has like a collapse in his mind. Like he doesn't know what to put out there. Because like you said, really the first single really encompasses the whole record. So was it hard for you to pick one?
For me personally, I definitely kind of struggled with it because Monument is so kind of multi-sided. I really didn't know what would make the strongest impression. I think for the other guys, it was kind of a similar thing. Like it could be this, or this. And I think landing with the Whip being kind of the first one, I think that's probably the best thing that we could have done just because of the fact that it kind of is balls to the wall, like right off the bat. Doesn't really slow down. It's high energy, but it still has some of that weirdness and all the solos and stuff like that. So I think that was a good choice. I think had the video been ready in time, probably New Breath. I don't know if you'd seen our space adventure video that we released like last week. But I think that's got a really catchy chorus, and I think the riffs are super melodic and good, and the drums are driving. The bass is, just really like, I don't know, kind of heavy and perfect for it. So, I mean, I think that would have potentially been our preferred first single, but I'm certainly not upset that Whip. And then Mirrors of Trigon was our second one, so that's kind of weird. But I think people really responded to that one in particular, so I was pretty happy about that.
For anyone tuning in right now, you're listening to 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. This is the Metal Teddy Bear Experience with your host, Chris. And I got Keith, the drummer of Druids.
Yo.
So during my show, I asked 3 random silly questions. Are you ready to take part in this?
I'll do my absolute best.
It's going to get weird, but not too weird because we're FCC regulated. All right.
Right, yeah. Got to keep it clean.
All right, so the first one's going to be pretty easy for you, and this should be really easy for you. Okay. All right. What is your favorite Dungeons & Dragons class?
Oh, man. There's
a right and wrong answer to this.
my brother-in-laws play Dungeons & Dragons. I'm more of a Magic the Gathering guy, oddly enough. I mean, I guess I don't really know. Is a mage like a class in Dungeons and Dragons?
Well,
or wizards, maybe?
I know one class, and one of the classes is a druid. So your answer's wrong.
Oh, okay, well, that should have been an obvious, yeah. You see what I mean? I know nothing about Dungeons and Dragons, but that should have been a given, yeah.
That was just a nice little fun, silly one for you. But yeah, I'm not too much of a Dungeons and Dragons guy, but that was a fun one me and my friends came up with.
The art's amazing, so, and I'm sorry that I didn't play it. I should have gotten that, but I'm on, like, little sleep, so I apologize.
It's okay. We just got to crank some caffeine, right? I'm drinking my Dunkin' here while I'm interviewing you.
Oh, nice, nice.
All right, so this one's a little more in depth, so get ready.
Okay.
All right, brace yourself. It's the middle of the night and you're fast asleep. Elon Musk kicks in your door and says you have been chosen as the astronaut for the first rocket to Mars. You have 5 minutes to pack your bags and leave. What do you bring?
Oh, my gosh. Let's see. I would probably bring a set of headphones and my phone, because I always keep music directly on there. Got my pictures, so I can like look at pictures of my cats and my wife. Probably my water bottle. What else would I bring? Well, I don't know. Just comfortable clothes and maybe a book. Probably be it.
Oh, what kind of book?
I would probably pick something like, oh man, I've been reading a bunch of weird stuff. I'd probably just pick something movie related. Let's see, there's a writer, her name's Alicia Malone. She hosts TCM, Turner Classic Movies, and she does a lot of books about females in filmmaking. So it'd probably be just a filmmaking history book.
Okay. I've never heard of it,
Yeah.
but it's something I would have to check out now. I'll put it on my list of books to read.
She's awesome. I'd recommend it. Yeah, it's good stuff.
All right. Final question. Number 3.
right.
You're doing pretty well so far.
Okay, yeah.
Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Are you excited?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We all are. Yeah, for sure.
I'm just assuming. I don't know why, but your music just gives off that you're a Star Wars fan. So I just assumed you were. So I guess I'm correct.
You're accurate on that one. All three of us, I would say, are definite fans. So yeah.
My other question, so a nice little bonus round right here. What did you think of The Last Jedi?
Okay.
There we go.
I'm not a hater. So I'm going to start off right there. I actually really loved the movie. I know that there are certain things that people complain about, but everybody was complaining about having to wait for new Star Wars movies, and now we've got them pretty regularly. And people, again, back to the thing we were talking about, people always find something to complain about. So did I think Leia being sucked out into space and then flying through space was a little weird? Absolutely. Probably not necessary. But if I had to have one complaint about the movie, that would literally be probably the only thing I could think of.
Okay. That's solid. Because you hear so many... there's so many haters. Like right now, I have my co-host in studio. Aram, you want to say hi?
No.
He hates Last Jedi, and he's like the number one hater right now.
You have failed me.
All right. Well, all right. He's probably a bigger Solo fan, I'd assume, then, right?
Oh man, we won't get started on that one. But it's funny when you talk to certain people about Star Wars, you get the haters and you get the lovers and all that. Like I got to talk to Travis Miguel of Atreyu, and he was so in love with Last Jedi. He thought it was great. He think, it could have been better, but he still enjoyed it a lot. He just had great nostalgia with it.
I mean, I've grown. 34 now, and I've grown up listening, watching those movies my entire life. So like that is just part of me, and I can't totally hate it. I think honestly, the weakest in the whole bunch is probably Attack of the Clones. I think that is the biggest slog of dialogue I've ever heard. It was just the most boring thing of all time. Plus the romance angle, not too exciting. So for me, for my money, I actually prefer Phantom Menace over Attack of the Clones.
There we go.
If you can believe it.
No argument there.
It's an odd take, but there it is.
You have Darth Maul and Qui-Gon there, dude, and that's solid.
Yeah.
Last thing about Star Wars, I want to ask you: the return of Emperor Palpatine is heavily rumored. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah. I would agree. I'm going to go ahead and speculate that was probably him laughing at the end of, when the screen goes dark.
It wasn't Seth Rogen?
Trailer.
Did you hear that?
I mean, you never know.
There was a video someone put up about
It was
that.
a very goofy laugh.
Oh, it was perfect. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Palpatine's back. I don't know how I feel about that. That's kind of they're really bringing it for full circle, closing off everything. It's kind of I don't know how to feel
Yeah.
yet. I'm uncertain.
I mean, I hope if they do bring him back, I mean, you would think that the makeup would have to be pretty stellar, just because he's got to be so old at this point. So you would imagine that they've got to age him like pretty well. I mean, he wasn't looking good to begin with, if we're being honest. So
Nah, he wasn't. He definitely wasn't.
So I'm hoping that they add some just really gnarly wrinkles and just like weird neck skin or something. I don't know.
Maybe he'll be back as a Force ghost, but in like from the dark side. I don't know. I don't know how that works.
He might just be a head in a jar. We don't know.
In the extended universe, Palpatine comes back as clones. So he makes clones of himself, and then he puts his spirit or his ghost into them.
Ooh.
Okay. I never knew
That's interesting. Okay.
But all right, that's it for the random silly question segment. Hope you enjoyed that. I had a ton of fun.
Oh, totally. Yeah, it was awesome.
There we go. And what's the touring plans for Druids? What do you got toured up?
Yeah, so it's a couple of release shows back to back, Friday and Saturday, one in Kansas City, where the label's based out of, and then one in Des Moines on Saturday. We play a show next week, and then we take pretty much most of May off. Our bass player is getting ready to have his second kid, and I'm going to be out of town a lot. But then once the end of the month kind of rolls around, we've got a kind of a fill-in bass guy, great guy named Phil. He plays in a band called The Gorge out of St. Louis, and they're just like this really heavy, techy, really brutal kind of madness. And so he'll be filling in on bass. And we're going to be doing East Coast for about 2 weeks. We just was announced today, we have 3 dates, I think, with Modern Life is War. Luke, our guitar player, is actually the drummer in that band. And then a punk band called Crime Watch. So we'll be playing with those guys. And then July, we kind of have some weekend stuff going on. And then in August, we're doing full West Coast for at least 3 weeks to a month or something like that. So after that, probably do some more later on in the year, September, October, I would have to assume, and probably start writing after that, and more touring next year. So that's kind of the idea right now.
Any shows in the New York, New Jersey area?
Yeah, actually, we're playing Asbury Park with Modern Life is War, and Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Bazaar with Modern Life is War. I can tell you where the Asbury Park one is because I don't know off the top of my head. It is going to be at a place called House of Independence.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a really nice venue.
Not too familiar, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a very nice venue. Looking forward to seeing
cool.
you guys there. I'll try to make my way out there.
Please do, man. That'd be great to meet up.
Yeah, and thank you for taking the time out of your day to make time for this interview. I really appreciate it. And everyone listening right now, make sure you pick up Monument on Friday. Drops Friday, guys. Make sure you check it out. And listen, man, I want you back on when Rise of Skywalker comes out. All right, and we get to talk about that movie.
You've got my number, so yeah. Just shoot me a message, man. I'll happily come back on.
We'll do. And my co-host wants to say something.
Yeah, you should come and watch my PowerPoint of why The Last Jedi is an absolute terrible film.
He's number one hater.
I mean, have you seen Corky Ramon? I mean, there are so many more there are more terrible movies out there.
Oh,
absolutely.
I will say. But, I mean, I love Star Wars. And I will explain to you why this is a bad film. Through a PowerPoint.
Yeah, all right. I'm down. We'll get a couple beers going, and I'll watch it with you. I don't mind. Yeah, that's fine.
All right,
Dude, awesome.
Sounds awesome.
All right, man. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your night.
Hey, you too. Thank you guys so much.
No problem. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.